Rep the South Side whenever you pay with your White Sox debit card from Wintrust Community Banks and score perks like free ATMs, no monthly fees, and a $300 opening bonus. Pay with pride every time with Wintrust, Chicago's bank.
Join us for a CHSN watch party at Wind Creek Southland Sports Bar on April 18th at 5 p.m. to watch the White Sox take on the Boston Red Sox. Meet White Sox legend Ron Kittle and win valuable prizes, including a customized engraved hat. Chase Midroth was the third player acquired in the Garrett Crochet trade, behind 𝗗𝗄𝗋 and Braden Montgomery. But he was the first to reach the majors, and what an impact he has already made in the major leagues. Hey everyone, it's Chuck Garfien. Welcome. It is the White Sox Podcast, brought to you by Wintrust, Chicago's bank. Show your team pride with a White Sox debit card. Get yours at wintrust.com/Sox, member FDIC, lender. So on the podcast today, CHSN's field reporter Brooke Fletcher joins me to talk about Chase and everything he's bringing to the table. Offense, defense, grit, fire, plate discipline, and more. And he made history in his Major League debut, and he prevented history on Sunday by ironically being the person to break up Garrett Crochet's no-hitter. So on the podcast, we're talking about Chase Midroth, who's already bringing a ton to the table in the major leagues with the Sox. Let's go. All right, back on the podcast. It is CHSN's Brooke Fletcher, who has spent a good part of her April and some of March braving the Chicago weather, the elements, as our sideline reporter. Field reporter, excuse me. Are you warmed up? How long did it take for that to happen? How are you doing? You're doing a great job, by the way, but hasn't exactly been a warm start of the season in Chicago.
No, I mean, I guess they did prepare me. They warned me, and I do come prepared, Chuck, because you have seen there's the crazy bag lady, and I am the crazy hot hand lady because I have hand warmers, feet warmers. I got the patches you stick all over. So I've learned from football season covering Big Ten football how to handle Aprils here in Chicago. So I'm in good shape so far.
Yeah. So I actually grabbed a few of your warmers to have a little fun with you on the air. I don't know if it ever got to you, but you not only had hand warmers, you had toe warmers, and then there's a body warmer. There's a body warmer. Like what is that all about? That's not big enough to be a body warmer.
I get cold very easily, like already. And so then when you're mixing in the cold weather, I've learned to, when you live in the Midwest, when you think you have enough layers on, you add another layer. And so you got to have the hand warmers. You got to have the body warmers are a game changer, Chuck. They're adhesive. And then you just stick them like one here, one on the back. You just stick them all over. And so I feel like I'm like Hansel and Gretel. Like instead of the breadcrumbs, I just leave hot hands everywhere in my house. So my husband is like, are you okay? Where I'm doing laundry and they fall out of my pants. I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. It's a secret.
I love it.
Staying warm during season.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you who's not a secret anymore. Chase Midroth. We have watched a lot of him. You and I have talked with him a lot. We've had a bunch of conversations. It was funny. We were in the clubhouse right before his debut. We walked in and he walked right by us and we started having a conversation. And, he said, there's many things we can share on the podcast here, but one thing that stood out with me was that he just turned his phone off. Mm-hmm. And at that age, or at this point, anybody at any age, it's tough to turn your phone off and not really be, a part of society, so to speak. But he was so focused, he didn't want to be distracted at all. He just turned it off at the greatest point of his entire life. He didn't need to hear from anybody. And actually said we're taping this on Monday. He said he'll turn it back on Monday after his first weekend series. What does that say about him as a person and a competitor?
Well, the way he carries himself, he just already carries himself like a big leaguer, right? And the moment just isn't too big for him. You saw that in the way he competed in this series, which we'll dive into in a minute, but just the way he carries himself in the clubhouse. And, it was funny though, when he hadn't texted anybody, but I did give him an opportunity when I did my pregame interview. I said, if there's a lot of people that are reaching out to you, do you have anything you want to share to them? And he's like, I love you guys. I'll reach out to you on Monday when I check my phone. So I can only imagine the amount of text messages that he's had, especially breaking up Crochet's no-hitter, which is insane. But yeah, he's just a baseball dude, and like just a guy. And you hear from Chris Getz, you hear it from this coaching staff. It's just the way he goes about his business. That's what's really impressed, this organization is just a guy that you want to root for. And if you could have multiple personalities like that, like he's a manager's dream. That's what, Santos was saying.
Yeah. When I was talking to Bobby Dahlbeck, who was with him in AAA last year, he's now in AAA with the White Sox. I asked him about him and he just called him a dirtbag.
Yeah.
He's a dirtbag.
I love that.
He takes the field, gets dirty, gets on gets in the heads maybe of the opposition, certainly the pitcher. The pitcher does not want to deal with Chase Midroth because he's just hanging in there all the time, tough at bat. And look, he's been there for 3 games, and he's making history. And you want to hear some of these statistics?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. To do this, though, I'm not just going to tell you what Chase Midroth is doing. This is a sponsored element to the podcast. We're going inside the White Sox. We're going inside Chase Midroth. This is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. So Chase Midroth has played 1 series in the majors, and he's already made history. How about we start with this, his MLB debut? A hit and 3 walks. Brooke, he's the first player to do that in the major leagues for his debut since Larry Walker in 1989 when he played for the Montreal Expos. There are no Montreal Expos anymore, and that's what he's done.
That's impressive. And I think, are there more stats?
There are more. You want to hear more?
Keep going.
Okay. He's the second White Sox player in history to walk 3 times in his major league debut. The first guy to do it, the only other guy to do it. Big fan of him. I mean, we all know him. Ray Morhart in 1924. That was 101 years ago. No, never met him. Don't know who that is. And I got one more. In his second game, he got a single in his first at-bat, so that meant that he reached base in the first 5 plate appearances of his major league career. How many White Sox players, Brooke, have done this in their careers? Just take a guess. How many White Sox players in their careers have come to the majors and have reached base 5 consecutive times? I mean, Frank Thomas is a part of this. Robin Ventura. Look at all the names of players who have played and made their debut for the White Sox. Do you think there's been anyone else besides Chase?
I'm going to say 2 other ones. Final answer.
None.
0.
He's the only one to ever do it.
What a stud.
I know.
And you know what's funny is just if you told Chase that, he'd be like, it's just baseball, man. Like, just the moment is not too big for him. And that's just what's been so much fun to watch. I mean, we even saw that at spring training too, Chuck. Like, and just the way that he was going about his business, and just we thought he was going to break camp, with the team and come to Chicago. But I think, working on his plate discipline, being a little bit more aggressive in his at-bats, that was the one thing. They kind of wanted him to get his confidence back. But I mean, that short stint in Charlotte, I mean, it did wonders for him, because it was like a completely different player that we saw in this series. I mean, he looked like he's been playing for a while in the big leagues. It was cool.
It made sense for them to send him down there. And I think Chris was talking about it, Chris Getz, about a week ago, where he said, he was in line to break camp with the team.
Yeah.
And once they put him in the leadoff spot, he started pressing a little bit. And they didn't want him to be in this kind of situation at the end of camp where it's like, yeah, I'm not hitting really well. Oh, yeah, go to the major leagues now and figure it out. They said, hey, you know what? Work on these things, like you said. Go to the minor leagues. 9 games. I think he played 9 games, which is nothing. And he figured it out. And here he is already here and making such an impact on the game.
Yeah, I was asking Marcus Timms too. You mentioned that he was in the leadoff spot because of his player profile. He fits like a guy that would hit in that spot in the lineup. And I asked Marcus Timms, like, do you see him now that he's kind of getting his feet wet, right? Like you're putting him in that 6 or 7 hole, but like, do you see him eventually moving up there? And he told me, listen, we're going to take it 1 game at a time. We're going to let him, find his comfort, get used to the big league level. And if we do eventually want to move him there, we can. But he's like, let's just, take it 1 game at a time.
Yeah, I'm glad they put him in the 6th and 7th spot.
Yeah.
But it's taken all of 3 games for me to start thinking, maybe they should just have him lead off. I mean,
Yeah.
Mike Talkman's on the injured list.
He's got
Miguel
it.
Vargas is doing okay. And who put together the best at bats against Garrett Crochet? It was him.
Yeah.
It was Chase Midroth. Ironically, right?
Yeah, and it was funny because we asked him just how was your mindset, going to the plate, and he was just like, or he's like, were you even thinking about that? This is the guy that they traded you for, and all this, and he goes, no, it's just baseball. Like this is just what it comes down to. But I mean, you have to have that mindset. I feel like you can't let the moment be too big for you. But I do feel like even though he is so even keel, he injects some energy into this group. I mean, Davis Martin told me when he was on the mound as a pitcher, you want to feel like you're protected back there. And, he appreciates the way that Chase goes about his business and also just communicates with the rest of the guys in the field. And Chase told me it's 9-on-1, right? Like I want my pitcher to know that hey, we have your back. And so, you could just see, it felt like Davis and Shane and those guys could just kind of settle in just knowing that you got some guys back there that are communicating and they're on the same page as you.
So Chase came on this podcast back in March 13th. He talks about his hitting philosophy, his love for hitting with 2 strikes. Who loves hitting with 2 strikes? Chase Midroth does. Why he plays the game like a dirtbag. So if you want to listen to Chase, listen to that podcast. But I pulled up this quote that he gave over the weekend. White Sox fans, we've been through the ringer with this offense for the last few years. And to hear someone say this is going to make your day. On his approach at the plate, quote, I'm trying to give the bat to the next guy with me on first base any way that I can. I'm not exactly looking at how much I walk. I'm just trying to win as many pitches as I can in a game. I never hear that from anybody on the White Sox, or I mean, really don't really hear that said too often in baseball. He's not trying to win the at bat. He's trying to win every pitch.
Well, it's funny because I had a conversation with _Marcus Thames and, as a hitting coach, what is your message to these guys right now? Because there's some guys that are putting up competitive at bats. They're working the counts a little bit. You just don't have anything to show for it. And I said, it has to be frustrating. You've been in their shoes. And he goes, listen, some of the best hitters in the game and this was before Chase even said this. He goes, some of the best hitters in the game, they take the approach of just have to win every pitch. So when Chase said that rung something in my head. I go, that sounds familiar, but it's true though. And my dad had always said this, when you take the pressure off of yourself and you're thinking about how can I put my team in the best position here? What can I do? Take it one pitch at a time. That's when you're going to find the most success. And, you're seeing it with Chase there.
So it's funny that you mentioned your dad. Your dad, Scott Fletcher, former White Sox infielder, 𝗁cie 𝗰𝗶𝗹 said over the weekend, you know who Chase Midroth kind of reminds me of? He kind of reminds me of Scott Fletcher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
see a connection there? I mean, I'm not saying your dad had an OBP like this, but what do you think?
I think that was really nice of him to say. Listen, I love the way he goes about his business. You could tell he's playing for the team, he's just going out. He's the guy that just doing his work, the right way. And this is my opinion. I feel like when, the White Sox, they're in an interesting situation right now because they're trying to establish culture. You got a lot of young guys. And I feel like when you're trying to find foundational pieces, not to say that Chase is the only guy in that clubhouse, because I think there's a great group of guys. But, when you're talking about just guys to kind of build an organization around, you want guys that are not about themselves, that they're thinking about, how can I help this guy or how can we rally together? Those are the type of guys you want early on when you're trying to establish a culture. So people know the expectations when they come into that clubhouse. It's set by those type of guys.
All right. So he had that great debut on Friday against the Red Sox. It's so funny because he said when we were talking in spring training, he's like, I can't wait to face the Red Sox. He just wanted to beat them. He's not mad at them for trading him, but there is anytime you have a chance as a competitor to have fuel, motivation, whether it's 100% real or even slightly fabricated, to use that, you're going to bring that. And I'm not saying he's fabricating this, but you can, you want to use any edge that you can have, you're going to bring it. And the Red Sox gave him this fuel. And it turns out his very first game obviously came against the Red Sox of all teams. And he's facing Garrett Crochet on Sunday. And I got the feeling that Garrett was a little fired up, would you say? You had a front row seat. Like, what were you seeing from Garrett Crochet when he took the mound and how he was doing? Because he had a no-hitter going until the 8th.
Confidence. I mean, that guy, you could just see it from just, I spoke with him when, he had his first media availability there. It's just, and I didn't have a chance to cover him last season, but I mean, confidence was the first thing that I noticed from him. And you could see it on the mound there. And I mean, rightfully so. He was dominating on the mound. And so I think, didn't you tweet something there like, how crazy would it be if Chase Midroth just happened to break up his no-hitter? Chuck likes to talk about how he can see the future. He has this glass ball. And I don't think you're lying. I think you might be able to see the future here, Chuck, because you called it.
I have not shared this with you, but I am from the future. I have seen the future. I can be the future. No, when I was watching this unfold, we are in the top of the 8th inning at this point. And he was throwing a no-hitter, and I was watching all the at-bats that were taking place and who has the best chance to probably break this up. And of course, Chase came to my mind, and I noticed that he would be batting in the 8th inning, the bottom of the 8th. So I sent out a tweet and actually said it on the air in our inning hit in the top of the 8th inning, where I said, wouldn't it be something if it's Chase Midroth, of all people, to break up Garrett Crochet's no-hitter? They were traded for each other, and here Chase is making his debut against the Red Sox. This is his first Crochet's first game against the White Sox, and sure enough, it happened. Chase making me look really, really smart. Thank you very
just
much.
Like you drew it up.
Yeah, I know.
It was funny. I was interviewing his parents during the game, and you mentioned, how much of an edge you feel like it would give him going up against his former team. His parents were the first people that he called when he, got called up. And he said, his dad, Greg, said, as soon as he got traded, he was like, it is my dream to face the Red Sox.
Love it.
He's like, I want to face those guys. And I even asked Chase about it. He goes, listen, and you said this too, Chuck, like he said he has great relationships like with Roman, and because he was a part of that core, that young group. And, but he's like, listen, I'm a White Sox now, and my priorities change, and I got to go out there and I got to do my job. But man, he acted like it wasn't a big deal, but you have to feel like how gratifying that is to get off your former team and a guy like Garrett Crochet that you were traded for. Like, that's a cool moment.
It was because of your interview, by the way, with his dad, where I then went on the air and told the story about what Chase told me, because he said that to me. We were not on camera. It was just a conversation. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to share that. Well, once his dad brings it out there and puts it in the world, well, I'm going to say it too.
I know.
That's why I did that. And then after the Red Sox lost the first 2 games to the White Sox, and I'm like, okay, they could potentially get swept. Mm-hmm. The Red Sox announcers, or one of them, I know they're both kind of in it. Before this series, they went on the air. I'm not sure if everyone has heard this, but they went on the air and they're like, wow, this has been a tough series against the Blue Jays. Well, that White Sox team is finding every way to lose. That series with the White Sox couldn't come at a better time, or this is a perfect time to face the White Sox. And I was privy to some information that fired up the White Sox.
I love it.
And so they won the first 2 games of the series. And then I'm thinking, wait a second. So now they're trying to avoid getting swept. And Garrett Crochet's on the mound. This is not a good recipe for success against the White Sox, or for the White Sox. But at least the Sox made a game of it, right?
They did. And you know how hard it is to score late, but the fact that they were able to rally, and that's what you're seeing here. I mean, I love that was like bulletin board material for them, right? Because as before, you'd be like, okay, whatever. But the fact that they're like, no, I think these guys thrive. There's a good combination. As naturally as a younger player, you're wanting to prove yourself and why you belong. I feel like there's a lot of older guys and veteran presence, or veteran guys that, have had great careers, but they're in a pivotal point in their careers where they're trying to prove themselves. And so I think when you have a good chemistry in that clubhouse, guys want to play for each other. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing this mentality, you're seeing this fight from them, which was so fun. And when you are competing, the Red Sox, they're a pretty good team, like when you're competing and you are showing that you can hang in there with them, you just needed something just to spark that belief, right? Yes, it's a long season. But I mean, it was encouraging to see what you saw from them.
Yeah, and I go back to this offense does not have much depth on the major league team and on the minor league team. and I'm not making excuses, but I envisioned an offense at its full strength of being a much better offense. And unfortunately, right now, 1/3 of their starting lineup is hurt.
Yeah.
Tauchman, Josh Rojas, Andrew Benintendi. Now, every team in the majors would love to have everybody healthy, but this team really needs as many guys offensively healthy as possible, and you're not getting that right now. So every once in a while, they are scoring runs. I think it's been a better offense so far, but I mean, when they are overmatched, they are really overmatched, and we've seen that. And that's where, when April comes around, you're like, is this offense like worse than last year? I don't think it's going to be that, but you know, it's a very thin line between them being an average offense, which is what I'm really hoping for,
I think,
and being really, really bad.
Yeah. And we talked about this a little bit, and yesterday, Chuck, and I was talking to Chris Getz, because Brandon Drury is talking about adding some
I
power.
forgot about Brandon Drury.
Yeah, I mean, he was, back with the White Sox, but before, they parted ways at spring training, there were a lot. I mean, we were talking, there was a good chance that he was going to make the team, because he was back to like his old self, where he was dominating at the plate and bringing some power. And so I asked Chris Getz, I go, now that he's back with the team, where do you see him potentially fitting in? And he said, he's at extended spring training right now. He's progressing, well. He's going to start in Charlotte, but he said, if he gets back to where he was performing at spring training, he's going to be in a huge contention to potentially make this team here in Chicago.
So my guess is he'd be the DH.
Potentially, right? Yeah.
Or he's second base. He's not great defensively at second base. They've been using Chase at short. There's just a lot of moving parts. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out and how much time Drury needs before he's called up. But yeah, that's a good name. Didn't one of us in our prediction podcast for the season predict that he would turn out to be, this is before he got hurt, the best off-season acquisition for the White Sox?
That was me.
That was you.
That was me. Okay, I picked him for something. I think that's what it was. Because I thought it might have been me. Connor's like, he's going to get traded or something. I was like, he's not getting traded, but he got released instead. But he's back.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah,
I mean, great when your off-season acquisition for best off-season, your prediction for best off-season acquisition gets DFA'd before the season.
Yeah, not great, but he is back, and there could be an opportunity for him to join the team. Could be. So we will see with that. I'm curious. Josh Rojas, he's progressing well, but with Chase now at second, Josh, do we see him? Where does he fit in this infield?
That is a great question, Brooke. I will try to answer that. I will try to. I'm going to try to. This is a problem. This is a little pickle that they're going to find themselves in, because Josh Rojas can play short, but he's a better third baseman and second baseman. I think they kind of penciled him at second. But if Chase Midroth, if you envision him as your future second baseman, should he be playing more second base? I don't know. He played a little bit of short, so maybe you put Rojas at short. Maybe go back and forth between them, short and second. I don't know what the answer is to that one. What does that mean for Leaning Sosa, who's out of options? What does this mean for Miguel Vargas, who's showing flashes, but he's actually playing pretty good third base? I don't know. I don't have the answer there.
I don't either. I mean, one thing we've known is they have guys that have a lot of versatility on this team. And so Will and, Walker, they haven't been shy about, switching guys around and changing positions. I mean, Brooks Baldwin, I think.
Brooks Baldwin. I forgot about him. He's playing everywhere.
I know.
Brooks will be hosting this podcast next week.
Yeah, he's like, I'll take your job for the day. You need a day off. He takes pride in that, being that versatile guy, though.
All right, I got two quotes from about Chase Midroth I wanted to share. We haven't really talked about his defense. Davis Martin said this: he has the fastest hands I have ever seen. A great defensive player, a person a pitcher would love to have behind him. I mean, you touched on that already. I just like how he makes it seem very effortless. And even when there'll be an out made, like a strikeout, and they're throwing the ball around the infield, and Chase has this confidence that he's like kind of just whipping the ball around to the other guys. And he acts like he's been in the majors for 10 years and he's been here for 3 days.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I mean, you can tell when guys just like a natural. He just makes it look easy out there. But to Davis's point, like and what I was saying before, he feels protected, and like he's just impressed with the way that Chase has been able to step up. And communication within the infield and within the field, like you need somebody like that to kind of take the lead. And I don't know if like Chase is that guy, and I don't want to say that you're not getting that from other guys on the field, but Chase told me that that's part of, he's kind of always been that guy on every team he's been on, and to just kind of be really communicate and just making sure everybody's on the same page, and just again letting the pitcher know that like, hey, we got your back.
Goes a long way.
Yeah, it really does. Because I mean, from what I've heard, sometimes you don't get all the best communication, on certain teams. So there's a lot of value to that, especially with the shift and everything else.
Red Sox manager 𝗚𝗏, who never managed Chase, in the major leagues, obviously, but he managed him during spring training last year, said this about Chase, quote, "He's going to be a good one. He's going to be one of these guys that the more you see him, the more you're going to like. Physically, he's not the biggest one or the fastest one, but I can guarantee you that the baseball part of it, people are going to love him."
I mean, and they say, Chris Getz even said too, I feel like White Sox fans are really going to love this guy. With Santos, like when he said that you're a manager's dream, I want to know, like, what is a dream player for a manager, right? Like, is it it can't just be the talent, but like how a player goes about his business? Like what I'm just so curious.
I would say, I mean, I don't want to speak for Sergio Santos, but if I was a manager, the perfect player would be someone who brings it every day.
Yeah.
You as a manager don't have to worry about him. Like you don't have to really be like coaching him up and trying to motivate him. You're not overexerting yourself to get that player to be ready to play. He's a self-starter, and he's going to make everyone around him better. That's what I want in my team. I want as many players as that. Chase seems to be that.
I even had somebody within the organization tell me if I could have 9 Chase Midroths, I would, just because of, again, how he goes about his business. And it's been fun just to kind of witness that, even though it's been a short stint in the bigs, but just to see the way he carries himself. It's I feel like it's contagious. It's nice to, if I'm a teammate, like it would be nice to have somebody like that in the clubhouse.
And as a viewer, I just want to watch those at bats. I want to see the fight.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of players recently with the White Sox. There's no fight. It's a very defeated kind of at bat. And I'm not saying guys aren't trying. I'm just saying he's got more tools in that toolbox of his to work an at bat and make it a better at bat and a more entertaining one to watch. Before we wrap up, I'll just share with everybody how the rest of that Garrett Crochet trade is looking right now. I'm not trying to define it, but I'm just giving you a little update. So you got Brandon Montgomery. He's in Class A 𝗏𝗏𝗏, slashing .313, .378, .469, 2 doubles, a homer, 11 RBIs in 8 games with 2 stolen bases. Keep this in mind. He did not play minor league baseball at all last year because he broke his ankle in the College World Series. So it's good to see him getting off to a good start.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be long for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. What do you think?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think, we might not see him there long.
No. Kyle Teel got off to a great start in Charlotte. 2 homers, 8 RBIs in his first 2 games, but he's now in a 2-for-24 slump. I'll give him this, though. He's in this slump, but he's got 7 walks during this time.
Promising.
So, if you're in a slump, take your walks. Those are essentially hits. You're not driving in runs, but unless the bases are loaded, but at least you're doing.
Walks are good.
Yeah, you're having some production.
Even if you don't get a hit, a walk is good.
Yeah. So I like seeing that. Wikelman Gonzalez, he's the 4th guy in the trade. He has started 1 game in Birmingham as we tape this. Give up 2 runs, 3 hits, 3 1/3. This is him. And they have to work on this. 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, 2 hit batters. So kind of all over the place. Yeah. And then finally, Brooke, our guy, William Bergolla, who was not in the Garrett Crochet trade. Me and Brooke, we just kind of like we were following this kid all during spring training. He just kept delivering and delivering. We had a little conversation with him. So he's our guy, right?
How's our guy doing?
So here's our guy. Ready? He's in Birmingham, batting .308, On-base percentage of .419, 4 steals in 7 games.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Not
I
bad.
could see a major league team featuring Chase Midroth and 𝗻𝗶𝗃 in the future.
Oh, 1-2 punch action. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's been, and then you got the young pitchers. Like, I mean, and Connor's been doing a great job giving the updates in the game too about just the farm system. But man, there's a lot of excitement because I think there's so many guys that they're not too far off. Like, do you think we could potentially see some of these guys in the bigs at some point this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think the top 2 are going to be Teal and Caro.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens. Like, you know, they need to get a lot of at bats, and we're only in April. And obviously Corey Lee got hurt, and they just bypassed both of them and brought Omar Narvaez up, which made sense because they just need at bats. And if they come up here, I mean, you could argue, well, give them a taste of the major leagues, even if it's 2 or 3 times a week. But I get why they're, you know, keeping them. They want to make sure they're really, really ready and put them in the best position to succeed. And that's probably like giving them more time. That's just my theory.
Well, and I remember Paul Jan, I think, said, you know, there's value to keeping these guys together too, you know, making sure you bring them, you know, they're getting used to playing with each other and then bringing them up around the same time. But, you know, then you're bringing Chase up and you're seeing the impact that he's making. And so I can see why fans are like eager and hungry. I'm like, come on, let's see the rest. But patience is the key, people. Patience.
Yeah. Well, one guy I want to see up here, and I have not watched his games. I've just seen highlights of his games. Is 𝗵𝗏. They can use some power, and he's a DH first baseman, and he's off to an amazing start in Charlotte. I mean, I'm not privy to any information other than the fact that I would like to see him called up if he continues to hit like this, because they need some power. And even if it's like, it is, you know, it's the 8th inning or 9th inning, and the Sox are down a run, and he's on the bench. Give me some 𝗵𝗏. He'll run into one. The guy's a monster.
Yeah. I know. I saw him at spring training. That guy, he can crush the ball. I think that he could be good. We need to, you know, maybe just add a little surge. What have you liked from Will that you've seen so far?
What have I liked from Will? It's hard to, I have a lot of thoughts. I'm trying to like put them all together in the most concise way. You know what? They're in an 8-game losing streak. I am very frustrated on the air, off the air. And there's Will. Chill Will. And there is a part of me that wants the manager to freak out and go nuts. But let's be honest, does that really work?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's the right fit for this team. And, you know, when you guys ask him questions, he does not, he's like Harold Baines. Every word means something. And he's not going to diddle daddle and, you know, talk this way and that way and roundabout ways. And he's not going to say what he wants to say.
Yeah.
Like you could ask him a question and he could not answer it and talk about something else. Right. He doesn't really do that. You ask him the question, he will answer your question very succinctly. And is it entertaining? No, but his job is not to entertain me or you. His job is to manage this team. And I mean, it's so early to really judge him.
Yeah.
But, I think it's been a good fit. What have you seen? What do you think?
I agree. Chill Will. I like that. It could be his new nickname. No, he is very chill though. And I think because it is a long season, you know, you can't let the highs get too high and the lows get too low. And I think, you know, the way his demeanor rubs off on the guys in the clubhouse. And I think, you know, when he is calm, cool, and collected, and I think it just, you know, it rubs off on them. But I do think, like, when you ask him a question, he's not going to go into so much detail, but I respect the fact that he's protecting the players in a way. Like, you know, he's got his guys back. And I've heard that from a lot of players where he's like, you know what, I'm not like we are trying to get him to, you know, give us bad, you know, information on guys or anything like that. Like, we're not trying to do or out him or anything like that. But like, I respect the fact that, you know, he's looking out for his guys. And that's what a manager should do, just building that trust within that clubhouse. And I respect that.
Yeah. And actually I can share something that happened in the loss of the year. It can't be any worse than this, when they were in Cleveland and Mike Tauchman is on second base and he comes up lame trying to score in the 9th inning with 2 outs that could have potentially tied the game. Mm-hmm. And I was just so upset about how it all transpired. And on the air, I asked the question, like, Mike Tauchman had shown that his hamstring was not 100%. And they were down by 2 runs. And 𝗁𝗏 initially said, well, Andrew Vaughn's on first. If you're going to pinch run for someone, don't pinch run for Tauchman, pinch run for Vaughn, because he's the go-ahead run. I was thinking, well, Tauchman's on second base. He's the tying run, and his hamstring doesn't look that great. And they didn't pinch run for anybody. So I was like, what's going on with this? It didn't make any sense to me. I wasn't calling out Will, but I was just questioning it. And after the game, Will did not explain. No one really asked him this question, but if I was Will, I would have 𝗵𝗻, sportscaster, I would have explained the reasoning that I later found out as to why he didn't pinch run anybody, because I kept bringing up Greg Jones. That's this guy was just called up from the major leagues. He's very fast, or called up from the minor leagues. He's very fast. He steals bases. Why didn't they put him in? Well, I found out he was coming from Jacksonville. From Jacksonville to Cleveland. He did not show up at the ballpark until essentially the 8th inning. Didn't get to the dugout until the 9th inning. There was nobody to pull off the bench for any of them. So there we go.
That's so funny. Nobody knew that he was not even there.
No one. I saw he's activated, and I'm like, oh, where is he? Well, he was not in the position to be in the game.
Come in, yeah.
So if it was me, now granted, he was not specifically asked this question.
Yeah.
But like, I think it would have helped. I mean, I'm completely looking back on this, but I mean, that would have been information that Will could have passed along to everybody. By the way, we had no one left. It was Tauchman or bust.
Yeah.
And they went to Tauchman and they asked him, hey, we noticed there's something, you're not 100%. And he's like, I'm fine. And they kept him in the game.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think, you're just trying to find, I guess, your voice and how you want to be as like a manager. But I think there's learning curves, and, and you're trying to find yourself like with any position. I will say, Will's, we're starting to get his personality a little bit, like even in the managers meetings, we're starting to, I feel like, learn a lot more about him. So, and Walker and the whole coaching staff, it's been cool just to get to know those guys.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's been cool getting to know you, Brooke Fletcher.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. And I'm not just saying this because we're on a podcast. I've said this to you in private. But no, I think we've got a real good thing going with you and Connor. I mean, it's so funny. We went from 0 sideline reporters to 2. We were last in the major leagues in sideline reporters, and now we're first.
We're a 2-for-1 deal, don't you know?
Sideline reporters, field reporter.
Yes, field reporter. But no, it's been so much fun, and hopefully people are enjoying the broadcast. We put a lot of thought going into it, and from behind the scenes to people on camera, it takes a village. So hopefully all the viewers are enjoying the games and trying to shine some light on these players and these young stars within the White Sox.
Yeah, and we are, when I see hope, I'm going to deliver all of you hope. Chase Midroth gives me hope.
Do we have a nickname for Chase yet?
You know what? I've got the real bad, funny nickname from Jeff Corbett, our photographer extraordinaire.
Should we share it?
Yeah, I'll share that. And everyone can decide if you want to use this for Chase or not. Because he does not chase, Corby says he should change his name from Chase Midroth to Chase Nothing.
Chase Nothing.
I mean, I don't know. That's really a nickname. But then 𝗁𝗏 compared him to the kid from Sandlot.
Small?
Ham. It's called Ham Porter. Is that his name?
Ham Porter. Oh, yeah. Wait, which one was he? Ham Porter.
A freckled-faced kid who calls his shot like Babe Ruth.
Wait, What?
Yeah, hold on a
The
second.
catcher?
Yeah. Yeah,
Why
Ham
does he
Porter.
ever Wait,
Ham Porter,
why
this
does
guy.
𝗁cie think he
Well,
show everyone?
I don't know if you can. Yeah, he looks a little like that.
No, he doesn't.
I mean, a little bit. And then does this look like
Why
Chase
you guys
Midroth
don't
too?
like-
Calling a shot?
Wait, I don't know. How would Chase feel about that? That's something that I gotta ask him.
This is him nowadays, that kid.
Yes. I thought he would be like Smalls or another character, Squints.
No, and when 𝗁cie gets something in his head, it's tough for him to forget it. So he's already brought it up like 4 times on the air. And he always forgets his name. And I have to then say Ham Porter. Yeah, that's that guy.
Ham Porter.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, we gotta. If anybody has some nicknames, let us know. We gotta.
I will not be going up to Chase and go, "Hey, you know who you look like? You look like a Ham Porter, the portly kid from Sandlot."
I don't think he looks like him. So yeah, and I don't know if he would really appreciate that either.
No. But did that stop us from doing a side-by-side photo of Chase and Ham Porter on the show? That did not. But I don't think it affected Chase's play.
No.
But
he's not
here's the thing.
We've
His
learned
phone
that.
was off for 3 days. Now that he's turned his phone on, I wonder if someone sent him that.
I would be curious. I want to know what's the weirdest. That's a question I'm going to ask him when I see him at the ballpark. What's the weirdest text that you got, or the most random person that texted you after your debut? Yeah, because I'm sure his phone was blowing up.
Brooke will get to the bottom of it, and we will have the answer on Tuesday.
Teaser.
Brooke Fletcher, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your conversation, and perspective. I appreciate it. Chase Midroth off to a fantastic start. Hope he keeps it up. I believe he will. And let's win another series. All right,
let's go.
Let's go. Come on, I want to see it. All right, for Brooke Fletcher, 𝗂𝗍𝗄𝗏 behind the scenes. Chuck Garfien, thank you so much for listening and watching the podcast. 𝗗cie 𝗿𝗀𝗀, take it away.
All right, Art Chuck, this edition of the White Sox Podcast is over.